Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyahet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Namo Namah Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Namah Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Yam pravrajantam apeta krityam dvaipayano viraha katara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya tarabobhineduhu tam sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi yasvanubhavam akila shruti saramekam adhyatma deepam adititirshatam tamondham samsarinam karunayaha purana guhyam tam vyasa sunum upayami gurum muninam योगीन्द्राय नमस्तस्मै शुकाय ब्रह्मरूपिणे संसार सर्पदष्टं यो विष्णुरातम् अमूमुचते कालव्यालमुखग्रास त्रास निर्नाश हेतवे श्रीमद्भागवतं शास्त्रं कलौकीरेण भाषितम् एतस्मादपरं किञ्चित् मनःशुद्ध्यै न विद्यते जन्मान्तरे भवेत् पुण्यं तदा भागवतं लभेत् ज्ञानवैराग्यसम्पूर्णान् हरिभक्तिपरायणान् पूर्वाचार्यादहं वन्दे सम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकान् भगवन्नाम साम्राज्य लक्ष्मी सर्वस्वविग्रहं श्रीमद्बोधेन्द्रयोगीन्द्र देशिकेन्द्रम् उपास्महे कलिकालोचितं धर्मं नाम संकीर्तनात्मकं निर्णेतुमवतीर्णं तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयात् इतरतश्चार्तेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम् श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिस्तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षः कृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुख्यर्थं भवसागरे मनोरथो मदीयोऽयं सफलः सर्वदा त्वया निर्विघ्नेनैव कर्तव्यो दासोऽहं तव केशव श्रीहरे नमः श्रीहरे नमः श्रीहरे नमः गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्दा गोविन्दा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so we'll do a review 4.19 from 28. Sindhuji, you can do through the rest of 19 and 4 stanzas of 20, and Shobha, you can do the rest.
Yeah. Sri Krishna. Vayam Marutwandamiharthanashanam Vayamahe Dvachravasahadatvisham Ayadayamo Bhavairanandaram Prasahyarajan Juhavama Ityamandrekradupadim Vidurasyartvijo Drusha Srukhastan Juhado Petya Swayambhu Pratyashedada Navadyo Bhavadamindriyo Yat Yatnyo Bhagavatanuhu Yam Jikham Sadayatnyena Yasyeshtastanavasuraha.
First thing, just before the comma, Bhavatam Indro. I heard Indriyo, I heard just Indro.
Oh, Indro. Oh, okay. Bhavadam Indro. Yeah, sorry. തദിദം പശ്യത മഹത് ധർമ്മം വ്യതികരം ദ്വിജാഃ ഇന്ദ്രേണാനുഷ്ഠിതം രാജ്ഞഃ കർമ്മൈതദ്വിജികാം സദാ പൃഥുകീർത്തെ പൃഥോർഭൂയാത് തർഹ്യേകോ നഃ ശതക്രതുഃ അലം തേ ക്രതുഭിः സ്വിഷ്ടൈഃ യദ്ഭവാൻ മോക്ഷധർമ്മവിദ് നൈവാത്മനെ മഹേന്ദ്രായ രോഷമാർഹത്തുമർഹസി ഉഭാവഭിः ഭദ്രം തേ ഉത്തമശ്ലോകവിഗ്രഹോ മാസ്മിൻ മഹാരാജ കൃതാസ്മ ചിന്താം നിശാമയാസ്മദ് വജ ആദൃതാത്മാ യഥ്യായതോ ദൈവഹതം नु കർത്തും മനോതിരുഷ്ടം വിശദേ തമോന്ധം ക്രതുർവിരമതാമേഷ ദേവേഷു ദുരവഗ്രഹഃ ധർമ്മം വ്യതികരോ യത്ര പാഖണ്ഡൈരിന്ദ്രനിർമ്മിതൈഃ ഏഭിരിന്ദ്രോപസംസൃഷ്ടൈഃ പാഖണ്ഡൈർഹാരിഭിർജനം ഹ്രിയമാണം വിജക്ഷ്വൈനം യസ്തേ യജ്ഞധൃഗശ്വമുട് ഭവാൻ പരിത്രാതുമിഹാവതീർണോ ധർമ്മം ജനാനാം സമയാനുരൂപം വേനാപചാരാദവലുപ്തമദ്യ തദ്ദേഹദോ വിഷ്ണുകലാസി വൈന്യ സത്വം വിമൃശ്യാസ്യ ഭവം പ്രജാപതേ സങ്കൽപ്പനം വിശ്വസൃജാം പിബീപൃഹി ഐന്ദ്രീം ച മായാമുപധർമ്മമാതരം പ്രചണ്ഡഭാഗണ്ഡപദം പ്രഭോജഹി മൈത്രേയോവാച ഇത്തം സലോകഗുരുണാ സമാദിഷ്ടോ വിശാംപതിഃ തഥാ ച കൃത്വാ വാത്സല്യം മഘോനാഭിജസന്തതേ കൃതാവഭൃതസ്നാനായ പൃഥവേ ഭൂരി കർമ്മണേ വരാൻ ദദുസ്തേ വരദാഃ യേ തദ്ബർഹിഷി തർപ്പിതാഃ വിപ്രാ സത്യാശിഷസ്തുഷ്ടാഃ ശ്രദ്ധയാ ലബ്ധദക്ഷിണാഃ ആശിഷോ യുയുജുഹുക്ഷത്തഃ ആദിരാജായ സത്കൃതാഃ ത്വയാഹൂതാ മഹാബാഹോ സർവ ഏവ സമാഗതാഃ പൂജിതാ ദാനമാനാഭ്യാം പിതൃദേവർഷി മാനവാഃ ഇതി ശ്രീമദ്ഭാഗവതേ മഹാപുരാണേ പാരമഹംസ്യാം സംഹിതായാം ചതുർത്ഥസ്കന്ധേ പൃഥുവിജയേ ഏകോനവിംശോऽധ്യായഃ അഥ വിംശോऽധ്യായഃ മൈത്രേയോവാച ഭഗവാനപി വൈകുണ്ഠഃ സാഗം മഘവദാ വിഭുഃ യജ്ഞൈർയജ്ഞപതിസ്തുഷ്ടോ യജ്ഞഭുക്തമഭാഷത ശ്രീഭഗവാനുവാച ഏഷ തേ കാർഷിദ്ഭംഗം ഹയമേധശതസ്യഃ ക്ഷമാപയത ആത്മാനം അമുഷ്യശന്തുമർഹസി സുധിയഃ സാധവോ ലോകേ നരദേവ നരോത്തമാഃ നാഭിദ്രുഹ്യന്തി ഭൂതേഭ്യോ യർഹീനാത്മാ കളേബരം പുരുഷായതി മുഹ്യന്തി ത്വാദൃശാ ദേവമായയാ ശ്രമ ഏവ പരം ജാതോ ദീർഘയാ വൃദ്ധസേവയാ.
അശംസക്ത ശരീരേസ്മിൻ
previous atah kayamimam.
അത കായമിമം വിദ്വാൻ വിദ്യാകാമ കർമ്മഭിഃ ആരബ്ധ ഇതി നൈവാസ്മിൻ പ്രതിബുദ്ധോനുഷജ്ഞതേ.
அந்த first lineல வித்வான், அதுக்கப்புறம் next word is avidya. அந்த ந வந்து அவித்யா காம்
அவித்யா கர்மபிः அசம்சக்த சரீரேஸ்மின் அமுனோத்பாதிதே गृहे அபத்யே द्रविणे वापि कः कुर्यान् ममदाम्बुदः ഏകശുദ്ധ സ്വയം ജ്യോതിഃ നിർഗുണോ സൗഗുണാശ്രയഃ സർവഗുണാവൃതഃ സാക്ഷി നിരാത്മാത്മനഃ പരഃ.
சாட்சிக்கு அப்புறம் பாஸ். ஓகே, சர்வகுணாவிருத சாட்சி
சாட்சி நிராத்மாத்மனः பரः ஏவம் சந்தமாத்மானம் ஆத்மஸ்தம் வேத பூருஷः நாஜ்யதே பிரகிருதிஸ்தோபி தத்குணைः சக்மைः ஸ்திதः யஸ் ஸ்வதர்மணே மாம் நித்யம் நிராஷி ஸ்ரத்தயான்விதः பஜதே ஷனகைஸ்தஸ்ய मनोराजन् प्रसीदति परित्यत् गुण सम्यक् धर्मनो विशदाशयः शान्तिं मे समवस्थानं ब्रह्म कैवल्यमश्नुते.
First line after the comma darshanu. அந்த darshano.
Darshano.
You said something different, but yeah, that's okay.
Okay,
Darshano.
sure. Udasinamivadhyaksham dravyajnana kriyatmanam udastamimamaatmanam yo vedapnodi shobhanam भिन्नस्य लिङ्गस्य गुणप्रवाहो द्रव्यक्रियाकारकचेदनात्मनः दृष्टासु सम्बत्सु विभत्सु सूरयो न विक्रियन्ते मयि बत्तसो सौहृदाः समसमानोत्तम मध्यमादमः शुके चादुके सजितेन्द्रियाशयः मयोक्लप्तागि लोकसंयुधो विदतस्व विरागिल लोकरक्षणं.
Second line, first part, Mayopa, and the pa you just missed it. Mayopa
kliptagi lokasamyudo, sorry, vidastasva viragiva lokarakshanam shreya prajabala varagyo yatsambaraye sukrudat shashtamamsham Hardhan yada hrida punya prajana marakshida graharogamatti
Arakshita. Sorry, second, Arakshita.
Prajanam Arakshida. Sorry. Evam dvijakaryanum madavnuvritta dharma pradhanonyadamo vidasyaha hrasvena kalena grihopayadan drishtasi siddhanu raktalokaha varam chamatkanjana manavendra वृणीष्वदेहं गुणशीलयन्त्रिदः नाहं मकैर्वै सुलभस्त तपोभिः sorry योगेन वायत्समचित्तवर्ती मैत्रेय उवाच स इत्थं लोकगुणा विश्वक्सेनेन विश्वजित् अनुशासित आदेशं शिरसा जगृहे हरे.
And the first line, like Guruna, and the Guruna you left on word so that the chandas went off. Sa ittam loka Guruna
Vishwaksanena Vishwajit Anushasidaadesham Shirasa Jagruhe Harehe Suprashantam Pradayo Brahmana Prididam Svena Karmana Shadakradum Parishvajya Vidvesham Visasarjaha.
The first line, Shubha, or second, Padayof Premna.
Padayof Premna. Premna.
Yeah.
Okay. Bhagavanada Vishwatma Pradunova Hridarhanaha Samugjihanaya Bhaktya Grihita Charanambujaha Prasthana Bimugopyena Manukraha Vilambida Pashyan Padma Balashasakshena Pradaste Suhrudastam.
First line, and the imla and the break. So prasthana bimukopyenam im.
Anugraha vilambidaha.
And the second line, and the padma palashaksho, comma, na prataste sukrutsata.
Pashpan padma saksha sashaksho.
Palasaksho.
Pashyan padma balasaksho. Na pradaste suhrudat sadam. Sa adirajo rachidagja lagidanjalir harim vilokitum nashagada lochanaha nakinja novacha sapashpa viglavo hrudo baguhya medada vastidaha adavam ruj yashrukala vilokayan natrut padrug
Atrupta.
Okay. Atruptatrugo chamaha purusham padasprishantam kshidimamsa unnade vinyastahasagra muranga vidvishaha.
Stop. Okay. Yeah. So,
sorry, one question. Recording varle, Rajesh. Varle
அப்படியா?
record.
நான்
I don't. Irka.
I thought I sent it. Did it not?
No, you only send the 18.
இல்ல
Sorry, 19.
19, 20 varle.
20.
No, he sends both, ma.
20
Really?
vandudha.
I didn't see 20. I was
No, I
looking
didn't see
for it.
20.
Oh,
Same.
20 varla. Sorry, 18 and 19 da.
Oh,
Correct.
sorry. I sent 18 and 9. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
my bad. Yeah. I don't know
நான்
how I
usually
missed
அதை
it.
கேட்டு தான் practice
Yeah.
பண்ணுவேன். Sorry, ரொம்ப தப்பு.
No, it's okay. That's okay. I don't know how I missed. Because na rendu anchen, yeah, so I got confused. I thought I sent the right ones. Anyway, I'll send
Thank
it
you.
after this class today.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, so just do a quick recap of this 20, right? Because towards the end of last class, I rushed a little bit. So I thought, so two things are primarily happening, right? So we saw in 19 how Brahma comes and then he tells, don't do anything to invoke Indra. And then kind of because the sages wanted to invoke Indra to get rid of him, Brahma says, don't do that. Prithu agrees. Then Mahavishnu himself comes there. And then he first, tells Prithu that he did the right thing by not doing anything. And then he gives him two messages, right? Once he kind of reminds Prithu that it's very easy even for learned people to very quickly forget that you are not this body, right? It's very easy because you are just living that life. So it's very easy, because you get connected to your home, your children, your wealth and everything. And we normally see all of that as extensions of our body because they're all connected to our body. That's why we think of all of these things as connected, right? Because it's connected to our body. So, it's just true nature. You have to always realize is that you are actually not connected to them. And we're going to see a very beautiful Puranjanopakhyanam later towards fourth skandam, which will explain it in detail. But here Bhagavan says, don't think about that. And always remember that your soul is unaffected by all of these things which are actually happening. And the person who truly realizes this, that the soul doesn't get affected when somebody says bad things about you, when somebody insults you, all of that is irrelevant. Your soul doesn't get affected is important. Otherwise, you're going to get sucked into it, which is what happened to Prithu. He did 99 Ashwamedha Yajnas. That okay, Indra came and did all that stuff. But he says, but Prithu, you should not get affected by any of that stuff because it doesn't matter getting affected by what Indra is doing, right? That is the first message that Bhagavan gives him. The second message he gives is that everybody should perform their respective duties because the Prithu, you are a king, which means you have very clear prescribed duties of what you should actually do. And you should not expect any material things in return, right? And you should be satisfied with just doing your duty because that way your happiness and your satisfaction is not dependent on external results, but depending on what is happening. Because if you do something expecting something in return, then your expectations go up. Like I was telling, literally, my neighbor came and dropped flowers in everybody's houses now. That's now becoming the new expectations for Mother's Day, right? So now if you don't do it, then all the mothers are going to get upset now. So I mean, the expectation has risen, right? And so now you get more upset if that doesn't happen. So he says, your heart has to be free of all these material desires, right? Then your mind becomes much more clearer. You will see everybody equally because you are not seeing Indra as equal because you feel like he's cheated or he's trying to cheat on you. So he gives that message. And then he says, other thing is your duty as a king is to protect your citizens. That is your duty because that's the role you are playing is that of a king. And which means that if you do nice things and your citizens also get the right things, like we discussed last time, you will get the benefits. But if you don't do the right things and the citizens end up not following the right things, then the harm is also, you're also going to get a share of the harm. So he says, follow these things, don't get anything. And he promises him that later on in his life, in Prithu's life, the Sanat Kumaras are going to come. Because if you lead this right path that you continue for the rest of your life, the Sanat Kumaras are going to come, and then they are going to also give you more knowledge. And then that's what Bhagavan wraps up this conversation with Prithu, saying that I'm very pleased with your qualities, everything that you are doing. And that he says, the opportunity of me coming and telling you, this is Bhagavan telling Prithu, is not because of all the Ashwamedha Yajnas you did. I did not come here in front of you right now to talk about this because you did 99 Ashwamedha Yajnas. I came here because of the good things you have performed as a king and the potential to do more good things as a king. That's what interested me. That is the reason I have come, and not because of the 99 Ashwamedha Yajnas you actually performed there. So he's just continue to do all these good things. So that's the conversation. That's kind of where we also left in 22, right? So or 20 or something. So now Prithu, he's standing there.
So first Brahma comes, and then gives some speech and then Bhagavan
Yes.
comes after that?
And then gives the same thing again. Then Prithu
Okay.
is going to say the same thing to everybody else in 21 also.
Okay.
so because literally it is just describing everything that is happening. So Brahma comes and gives him an advice and says stop. So he stops. And then Bhagavan is happy with it. So then Bhagavan comes and then gives similar thing, hearing it directly from him about the two things, right? How not to get affected and how to just do his duties and not to expect any results in return.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Okay. So after that happens, then Indra, who's standing there, because when Bhagavan came, Indra also came along with it. So Indra then falls on Prithu's feet and apologizes. Now, in all of these things, right, it might look like Indra is not powerful. Indra is extremely powerful, right? So all these demigods, he is the ruler. So he's, so when he comes and falls on Prithu's feet, that really means that Prithu is even more elevated than Indra is, although Prithu is living on earth, right? So Indra comes and then he surrenders to Prithu, then Prithu embraces him, all of that stuff. And then at this time, Prithu is just in a very, like, what do you call, he's just in a high state of ecstasy, right? Because he's seeing Bhagavan in front of him and Bhagavan is blessing him, has directly spoken to him. And like it happened with Dhruva, like it's going to happen with Prahlada, they just are running out of words. They just don't know what to say, right? And they are just, yes, it talks about how he's just tears flowing out of his eyes. He's having horripilation all over his body. Words are not coming out of his mouth. He's choking. And he's then seeing this form of Bhagavan standing with his hand on Garuda, with his feet not touching the ground, because any gods, goddesses, the feet doesn't touch the ground. So he's standing there. He's seeing this form of Bhagavan. And then he's just within his heart, right? He's surrendering. And then he does a very beautiful stuti, right? Which is the Pritru Vacha from 23. In that stuti, he says a couple of things. He says that a wise person is a person who does not ask for anything materialistic in nature. That is the first thing he says, because he says material things will come to people even who are in the lower worlds. So by material things, I mean money, fame, all the things which are materialistic in nature. He says that will be available even when you go to the bottom worlds. Asuras also will get it. So he says a wise person is one who will not ask for these material things, right? That's the first one. Second, he says is like how Dhruva has said, everybody has said, he says, I also don't want to go and get liberated and completely merged into you. He says, I don't want that to happen, because he says in the stanza 24, Na yatra yushma charanam bhuja savaha. So the charana ambuja asavaha. Charana feet, ambuja is lotus. So lotus like feet, asavaha is like nectar. So he says, if I completely get merged into you, then I will not enjoy the nectar of having devotion of falling on your feet. I will miss that, right? So he says, I don't want liberation. I want constant devotion to your feet. Second. Third thing he says is, in return, instead of liberation, what I want is, he says, I want you to give me 1 million years, right? EARS, not YEARS. He says, give me 1 million years. The reason is because I'm not tired of hearing your glories, which all your devotees talk about. So just with 2 years, I can only hear all the things that certain amount of devotees can talk about. But if I have 1 million years, I can constantly keep hearing about all the glories that all your devotees actually talk about. So I will never get tired of that, right? He says, and every time I'm with your devotees and they keep talking about your glory, which keeps filling my ears, I start understanding my true purpose. And he says a wise man is a person who, once they get that satsangam, will not let go of that satsangam, because then it is only downhill from there. So he says they will always hold on to that satsangam. So he says that is the next thing I want, very similar to what Dhruva said. And Prahlada is going to say is, I want to maintain that satsangam with your devotees because they'll be constantly talking. Then he says something very beautiful one. He says that, this, as I keep hearing more about your glories from all of your relatives, right? He says, then there's one other person who loves hearing that, he says, which is Mahalakshmi. He says, Mahalakshmi loves to hear about your glories, right? And this reminded me of in Dashakam 2 of Narayaniam, right? When there's some stanza there which says, Tatta dhring maduratmakam tavapapuhu samprapya sampanmai sadhevi paramotsuka chirataram naste swabhakteshapi. Says Mahalakshmi loves to hear about your glory so much that even her own bhaktas, she doesn't stay. Chirataram na aste. She doesn't stay even with her own devotees so much. She goes to her devotees who are singing Narayana's name because she loves to hear that, right? So here Prithu is kind of saying something similar. He says that by constantly hearing that, what is going to happen is I'm actually going to come in competition with Mahalakshmi because both of us want to do the same thing. Both of us want to serve your feet. Both of us want to hear about, your glories. So what is possible, he says, is Mahalakshmi might actually get very angry with me because she feels like I'm going to come and replace her role of serving your feet and then constantly hearing about it. So when Mahalakshmi gets angry with me, or Bhagavan, he says, I'm sure you will support me because I am a very ordinary person, right? And you amplify the devotion that an ordinary person does. So Mahalakshmi being devoted to you is one thing, but an ordinary person like me being devoted to you, you prefer that more, right? So I'm sure you will take my side against Mahalakshmi and then support me instead of her because you actually don't even need Mahalakshmi because you are satisfied on your own. You are just independent on your own. You don't need anything else to be there for survival. So I know you will actually support me, right? So he says that he continues to that saying that that's all I want. I don't want anything material in nature. I just want this constant devotion with you. And then whatever he says, it's very possible that I don't even know what I truly want, right? He says, this is what I want. But he says, a father knows what is good for a child or a mother. He says, in this case, he says, you decide what is good for me. So you are telling me, take what boons you want, what blessings you want. He says, this is what I think I want, but I think you are in a better state to actually tell me what I need. Right. So that's how he does, he completes the stuti, very beautiful stuti, where he does, Prithu does. And then at the end of it, then Bhagavan then blesses him and says that, so be it, right? Like you will continue to get more devotion. So just continue doing what you are doing. Don't expect anything. And then, you will continue to have more devotion with me. And with that, and then Bhagavan departs there from that place. And then all the other people who are assembled there, Prithu then thanks everybody. He stops the 100 Ashwamedha Yajna. So that does not happen. He stops it. He thanks everybody. And then he returns, which is pretty much the next chapter where he returns back to the kingdom. Okay. So let's see here. Some 23. Priya Arun, you can be a student, and Sriram, you can be a student. So from this is where the thing we stopped exactly at 22. So 23 is where the stuti starts. Prituru Vacha Baran Vibho Twadwara Deshwarat Bhudaha, Katham Vrinite Guna Vikriyatmanam Ye Narakanamapi Santi Dehinam, Tanisha Kaivalya Pate Vrinenacha. पृथुरुवाच वरान् विभो त्वद्वरदेश्वराद्भुतः कथं वृणीते गुणविक्रियात्मनां ये नारकानामपि सन्ति देहिनां तानीश कैवल्यपते वृणेन च.
ऋतुरुवाच वरान् विभो त्वद्वरदेश्वराद्भुतः कथं वृणीते गुणविक्रियात्मनां ये नारकानामपि सन्ति देहिनां तानीश कैवल्यपते वृणेन च.
ऋतुरुवाच वरान् विभो त्वद्वरदेश्वराद्भुतः कथं वृणीते गुणविक्रियात्मनां ये नारकानामभिसन्ति देहिनां तानीश कैवल्यपदे वृणेन च.
न कामये नाथ तदप्यहं क्वचित्. You'll have a double na there, so first put a it there, क्वचित्, comma. Next word starts with a na. न यत्र युष्मच् चरणाम्भुजासवः महत्तमान्तर् हृदयान् मुखच्युतो, विधत्स्व कर्णायुतमेष एष मे वरः. Karna ayutam. So so the 1 million years. Karnayutamesha me varaha. Na kamaye nath tadapyaham kvachit na yatra yushmat charanam bujasavah mahattamantar hridayan mukachyuto vidhatsva karnayutamesha me varaha.
न कामयेनाथ ततप्यहं क्वचित् न यत्र युष्मच्चरणाम्बुजासवः महत्तमान्तर्हृदयान्मुखच्युतो विदत्स्व कर्णायुतमेष मे वरः
न कामयेनाद तदप्यहं क्वचित् न यत्र चरणाम्बुजासवः महत्तमान्तर्हृदयान्मुखस्युतो विदस्त्वकर्णायुतमेष मे वरः
स उत्तम श्लोक महन् मुखच्युतो भवत् पदाम्भोज सुधा कणानिलः स्मृतिं पुनर्विस्मृत तत्त्ववर्त्मनां कुयोगिनां नो वितरत्यलं वरैः स उत्तम श्लोक महन्मुखच्युतो भवत्पदाम्भोजसुधाकणानिलः स्मृतिं पुनर्विस्मृत तत्त्ववर्त्मनां कुयोगिनां नो वितरत्यलं वरैः
स उत्तमश्लोकमहन्मुखच्युतो भवत्पदाम्बोजसुतागणानिलः स्मृतिं पुनर्विस्मृततत्त्ववर्त्मनां कुयोगिनां नो वितरत्यलं वरैः
स उत्तमश्लोकमहन्मुखस्युतो भवद्बदाम्बोज सुधागणानिलः स्मृतिं पुनर्विस्मृततत्त्वर्तमानं कुयोगिनां नो विदरत्यलं वरैः
A second line just before the comma, tattva vartmanam.
पुनर्विस्मृततत्त्वर्तमानं, right?
Tattva, one word. Tattva vartmanam.
Oh, okay. Okay, Rajesh.
Yashash Shivam Sushrava Arya Sanghame, Yadrichaya Chopashrinoti Te Sakrite Katam Gunagno Biramed Bina Pashum, Shrir Yat Pravavre Guna Sangrahechaya. Shrihi, there refers to Lakshmi there. Yashashivam Sushrava Arya Sangame Yadrichaya Chopashrinoti Te Sakrite Katham Gunagno Viramed Vina Pashum Shrir Yat Pravavre Guna Sangrahechaya.
यशशिवं शुश्रव आर्यसङ्गमे यदृच्छया चोपशृणोति ते सकृत कथं गुणज्ञो विरमेद्विना पशुं श्रीर्यत्प्रवव्रे गुणसङ्ग्रहे चया
यशस्शिवं शुश्रुव आर्यसङ्गमे यदृच्छया शोभशृणोति ते सकृत् कथं गुणज्ञो विरमेद्विना वसुं श्रीर्यत्प्रवव्रे गुणसङ्ग्रहेच्छया.
First line, Shivam Sushrava. I heard Sushruva, get this, Sushrava.
यशस्शिवं शुश्रव.
Yeah. Atha bhaje Twakila Purushottamam, Gunalayam Padma Kareva Lalasaha Apyavayor Eka. Just breaking at that ra there if you want. Apyavayor Eka Pati Spridoh Kalihi Visarga, Next on top of the na, if you have ir, that goes away. Na syat krita twach charanaika tanayoho. Atha bhaje twakhila purushottamam gunalayam padmakareva lalasaha apyavayoreka patispridoh kalihi na syat krita twach charanaika tanayoho.
अता भजे त्वाखिलपुरुषोत्तमं गुणालयं पद्मकरेव लालसः अप्यावयोरेकपतिस्पृथो कलिर्हि न स्यात् कृतत्वच्चरणैकतानयोः.
The last sprudoh kalihi.
Sprutoh, okay. It's
Kalihi.
okay.
No ir there, yeah. Ir goes away.
Kalihi, okay, sorry.
अधापजे त्वाखिलपुरुषोत्तमं गुणालयं पद्मकरेव लालसः अव्यावयोरेकपतिस्पृतोः कलिः न स्यात् कृतत्वच्चरणैकतानयोः. Tanayoho
Jagach Jananyam Jagadisha Vaishasam, Syadeva Yat Karmani Nas Samihitam Karoshi Phalgvapyuru. Cannot break that word. So Phalgvapyuru Dina Vatsalaha, Swa Eva Dhishnye Bhiratasya. One word. Dhishnye Bhiratasya Kimtaya. Jagajjananyam Jagadisha Vaishasam Syadeva Yat Karmanina Samihitam Karoshi Phalgvapyurudina Vatsalaha Swayeva Dhishnye Bhiratasya Kimtaya.
जगज्जनन्यां जगदीश वैशसं स्यादेव यत्कर्मणि नः समीहितं करोषि पल्गव्युरुधीनवत्सलः स्व एव धिष्ण्येभिरतस्य किं तया
And the word Phalgvapyuru.
पल्ग्वप्युरु
Yeah.
पल्ग्वप्युरु
Jagadjananyam Jagadisavaishasam Syadeva Yat Karmani Samihitam Karoshi Balkwapyuru Dina Vatsalaha Swa Eva Dishnie Biradasya Kim Taya.
I just also put it in the chat in case anyone wants the English translation of that word. Bhajantyata Twamata Eva Sadhavo, Byudasta Maya Guna Vibramodayam Bhavat Padanusmaranadrite Satam, Nimittam, breaking at that ma, Nimittam Anyat Bhagavanna Vidmahe.
Rajesh, ஒரு quick question. சாதவஹன் கொடுத்திருக்கேன் என்னோடதுல சாதவோன் மாத்திக்கணுமா நானு?
Oh, what do you have?
சாதவஹன் கொடுத்திருக்கு.
Okay, yeah, just change it to Sadhavo. That's okay. Sometimes they put the Visarga instead of the O. That's fine. Sadhavo. Bhajantyatatvamata eva sadhavo Vyudastamaya guna vibramodayam Bhavat padhanusmaranadrite satam Nimittamanyat bhagavanna vidmahe.
भजन्त्यतत्त्वामत एव साधवो व्युधस्तमाया गुणविभ्रमोदयं भवत्पदानुस्मरणादृते सतां निमित्तमन्यद्भगवन्न विद्महे
Bhajantyat Twamada Eva Sadhovo Vyutastamaya Gunavipramodayam Bhavatbadanusmaranatrude Sadam Nimittam Anyat Bhagavanda Vitmaha.
Vidmahe. Last word. The last word, Vidmahe. Okay.
Vitmahe. Okay.
Manye giram te jagatam vimohinim, varam vrinishveti bhajantam attayat vacha nu tantya yadi te janositah, katham punah karma karoti mohitah. Manye giram te jagatam vimohinim varam vrinishveti bhajantam attayat Vachanutantya yedite janositah katam punah karma karoti mohitah.
मन्ये गिरं ते जगदां विमोहिनीं वरं वृणीष्वेति भजन्तम् आत्तयत् वाचानुतन्या यदि ते जनोसितः कथं पुनः कर्म करोति मोहितः
Manye kiram teja kadam vimohinim varam vrinishveti bhajanda matayat vasanu tandya yati de janositah kadam punah karma karoti mohitah.
He just reminds that here, like if you because Bhagavan says, I'll give you whatever blessings you want. He says, if you give me anything material in nature, I'm going to again start doing punaha, again, karma karoti. I'll again get stuck into wanting to do things because I want to get more of it, right? Because we're never satisfied with whatever we have. So if you say Bhagavan says, okay, I'll give you X money, then we'll get that X, then we want to do more to get more than that the next time, right? So we'll get stuck into it. So that's why he says, do not give me anything material in nature, because it's only going to put me back into that cycle of wanting more. Twan maya yadha jana isha khandito, comma, yadanyad ashasta, I'm just breaking at the da there, yadanyad ashasta ritatmano bhutah yatha charet balahitam pita swayam, comma, tata tvam evarhasi na samihitum. Tvanmayayadha jana isha khandito yadanyada shastaritatmano bhutah yatha charet balahitam pita swayam tata tvam evarhasi na samihitum.
त्वन्माययात्ता जन ईश खण्डितो यदन्यद् आसाद्य रुतात्मनो भूतः यथा चरेद्बालहितं पिता स्वयं तथा त्वमेवार्हसि नः समीहितुम्.
The first lines after the comma, yadanyad ashasta. I heard something else when you said.
यदन्यदाशास्त. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
ராஜேஷ் போன ஸ்டான்ஸ்ல ஒரு இது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து மன்யே கிரம் தேஜ கதாமா இல்ல தே ஜகதாமா?
Manye giram te jagatam vimohini.
ஓகே சரி, இந்த தேஜ கதாம்ட்டு ஜெயஸ்ரீ கரெக்ட் பண்ணா நல்லா கேட்டேன். ஓகே. त्वन् माययात्ता जन ईश खण्डितो यदन् यदा शास्त्ररुदात्मनो बुधः यदा सरेत् बालहितं पिता स्वयं तदा त्वमेवार्हसि नः समीहितम्.
That ends the Prutu Stuti. Maitreyo Vacha Ityadi Rajena Nutas Sa Vishwadrika, comma, Tamaha Rajan Mai Bhakti Rastute Dishte Drishi Dhir Mai Te Krita Yaya, comma, Mayam Madiyam Tarati Sma Dustyajam. Maitreyo Vacha Ityadi Rajena Nutassa Vishwadrika Tamaha Rajan Mai Bhakti Rastute Dishte Drishi Dhir Mai Te Krita Yaya Mayam Madiyam Taratisma Dustyajam.
इत्यादिराजेन नुतः स विश्वदृक् तमाह राजन्मयि भक्तिरस्तु ते दिष्ट्ये दृशीधीर्मयि ते कृतायया मायां मदीयां तरति स्म दुस्त्यजाम्.
इत्यादिराजेन नुदस्य विश्वतृक् तमाह राजन्मयि भक्तिरस्तु ते तिष्ठ्ये त्रुसिधीर्मयि दे कृतायया मायां मदीयां तरदि मधुस्त्यजाम्.
Maitreyo Vacha, okay. Yeah.
Sorry, Rajay.
Yeah, no worries. Tattvam Kuru Mayadishtam, break at that ma im. Next word starts with a apramattaf prajapate madadesha karo lokah, comma, sarvatrapnoti shobhanam. Tattvam Kuru Mayadishtam apramattaf prajapate madadesha karo lokah sarvatrapnoti shobhanam.
तत्त्वं कुरु मयादिष्टम् अप्रमत्तः प्रजापते मदादेशकरो लोकः सर्वत्राप्नोति शोभनम्.
तत्त्वं गुरुमयादिदिष्टम् अप्रमत्तः प्रजापते मदादेशकरो लोकः सर्वत्राप्नोति शोभनम्.
Maitreyo Vacha Iti Vainyasya Rajarshehe, comma, Prati Nandhyartha Vadvachah Pujitonu Grihitvainam, one word, Pujitonu Grihitvainam, comma, Gantum Chakrechuto Matim. Maitreyo Vacha Iti Vainyasya Rajarshehe Prati Nandhyartha Vadvachah Pujitonu Grihitvainam Gantum Chakrechuto Matim.
Rajesh, ஒரு question. இங்க மைத்ரேயர் தானே பேசின்னு இருக்காரு. இங்க மைத்ரேயோ வாச்சா we said 2 shlokas, right? Why again மைத்ரேயோ வாச்சா here?
Okay, good question, good catch. The reason is in the first Maitreya Vacha in 32. So Maitreya is telling, so Prithu completed doing this stuti, and then he prayed to Bhagavan, and then Bhagavan answered, and then in the 33, he is giving as if Bhagavan is telling in first person. So he could have said, Bhagavan said to Prithu, follow my orders. But instead it is written as Bhagavan is telling Prithu, you follow my orders and then execute things. It was written in first person on the 33, as if Vishnu is telling to Prithu in first person, right? But they didn't put Vishnu Bhagavanu Vacha there, right? They didn't explicitly call it out, but it's written like Bhagavanu Vacha. So adanaladhan thirumbi next, because Maitreya is saying, having heard this அப்படின்னு சொல்றதுனால that Maitreya Vacha is coming again.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, they could have technically put a Bhagavanu Vacha there, but there's only one stanza there, right? Maybe they didn't put it. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason they didn't put it there.
Okay. मैत्रेयो वाच इति वैन्यस्य राजर्षेः प्रतिनन्द्यार्थवचः पूजितोऽनुगृहीत्वैनं गन्तुं चक्रेच्युतो मतिम्.
मैत्रेय उवाच इति वैन्यस्य राजर्षेः प्रतिनन्द्यार्थवत्वसः पूजितोऽनुगृहीत्वैनं गन्तुं चक्रेच्युते मतिम्.
Chakrechuto matim.
गन्तुं चक्रेच्युतो मतिम्.
We'll just switch. This Amuchichi, you can be a student, and Vasu, you can be a student. Devarshi Pitru Gandharva, put a plus, Siddha Charana Pannagaha. So that lines together. Kinnarapsaraso Martyaha, comma, Khaga Bhutanya Nekashaha. So he's telling thanks to all these people who have come there. Devarshi, Pitru, Gandharva, Siddhas, Charanas, Kinnaras, Apsaras, all of them who are there. Devarshi, Pitru, Gandharva, Siddha, Charana, Pannagaha, Kinnarapsaraso Martyaha, Khaga Bhutanya Nekashaha.
देवर्षि पितृगन्धर्व सिद्धचारणपन्नगाः किन्नराप्सरसो मर्त्याः खगाभूतान्यनेकशः.
देवर्षि पितृगन्धर्व पन्नगाः किन्नराप्सरसो मर्त्याः खगाभूतान्यनेकशः.
Yagneshwara Dhiya Ragnya, comma, Vagvittanjali, one word, Vagvittanjali Bhaktitah, Sabhajita Yayu Sarve, comma, Vaikunthanu Gatas Tatah. So Bhagavan left for Vaikuntham. Yagneshwara Dhiya Ragnya, Vagvittanjali Bhaktitah, Sabhajita Yayu Sarve, Vaikunthanu Gatas Tatah.
यज्ञेश्वरधिया राज्ञां वाग्वित्ताञ्जलिभक्तिदः सभाजिता ययुः सर्वे वैकुण्ठानुगतास्ततः.
यज्ञेश्वरधिया राज्ञा वाग्वित्ताञ्जलिभक्तितः सभाजिता ययुः सर्वे वैकुण्ठानुगतास्ततः.
And the G, the second line, first word G is a short G. Sabhajita Yayu Sarve.
Oh, okay. Sabhajita Yayu Sarve Vaikunthanu
Bhagavanapi Rajashehe, comma, Sopadhyayasya Chachyutah, Haranniva Manomushya, comma, Swadhama Pratyapadhyata. Bhagavanapi Rajashehe Sopadhyayasya Chachyutah, Haranniva Manomushya, Swadhama Pratyapadhyata.
भगवानपि राजर्षेः सोपाध्यायस्य चाच्युतः हरन्निव मनोमुष्य स्वधाम प्रत्यपद्यत.
भगवानपि राजर्षेः सोपाध्यायस्य चाश्रुतः हरन्निव मनो मुष्य स्वधाम प्रत्यपादय sorry computer is busy.
Swadhama.
स्वधाम प्रत्यपाद्यत
Adrishtaya namaskritya, nripa sandarshitatmane avyaktāya cha devanam, devāya swapuram yayau. So everybody just went back to their respective places because this yajna is over and Prithu then comes back. Adrishtaya namaskritya nripa sandharshitatmane avyaktāya cha devanam devāya swapuram yayau.
अदृष्टाय नमस्कृत्य नृपः सन्दर्शिदात्मने अव्यक्ताय च देवानां देवाय स्वपुरं ययौ
अष्टाय नमस्कृत्य नृपः सन्दर्शितात्मने अव्यक्ताय च देवानां देवाय स्वपुरं ययौ.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे विंशोऽध्यायः.
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे विंशोऽध्यायः
श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे विंशोऽध्यायः.
अथ एकविंशोऽध्यायः. So 3 more chapters left in Prithu Charitram. So this 21 is Prithu's kind of whatever he has learned from Brahma, whatever he has learned from Mahavishnu, he then teaches it to his people, which is 21. Then in 22, he then meets with the Sanat Kumaras. Like Bhagavan said, you follow the right things, you'll get darshan of the Sanat Kumaras and you'll get more knowledge from them. That is in 22. And 23, finally, the Prithu Charitram gets to an end. Then the Prachetas thing will start from 24. Maitreyo Vacha Mauktikai Kusuma Sragbihi Visarga, Sragbihi. Next word ir goes away. Dukulais Swarna Toranaihi Maha Surabhibhir Dhupaihi. Again Visarga, Next word ir goes away. Manditam Tatra Tatravai. So next several set of stanzas are just going to describe how they welcomed Prithu back into his kingdom with all the decorations and everybody is welcoming him back. Because imagine he's now got a chance to meet Bhagavan. He's got directly blessed. So he's now a great king. So everybody is welcoming him back with all the decorations and arrangements in his kingdom. Maitreyo Vacha Mauktikai Kusumasragbhihi Dukulnai Swarnatoranaihi Mahasurabhibhir Dhupaihi Manditam Tatra Tatravai.
मैत्रेय उवाच मौक्तिकैः कुसुमस्रग्भिः दुकूलैः स्वर्णतोरणैः महासुरबिभिर्धूपैः मण्डितं तत्र तत्र वै
मैत्रेय उवाच मौक्तिकै कुसुमस्रग्भिः दुकूलैः स्वर्णतोरणैः महासुरभिर्धूपैः मण्डितं तत्र तत्र वै.
Chandana-guru Toyardra, put a plus, Toyardra Ratya Chatvara Margavat Pushpakshata Phalais Tokmaihi. Again Visarga, Next word ir goes away. Lajair Archibir Architam. Just breaking at the 2 ras there. Lajair Archibir Architam. Chandana Guru Toyardra Ratya Chatvara Margavate Pushpakshata Phalais Tokmaihi Lajair Archibir Architam.
चन्दना गुरुदोयाद्ररत्या चत्वरमार्गवद पुष्पाक्षतफलैस्तोक्मैः लाजैरर्चिर्भिरर्चितम्
चन्दना गुरुतोयार्ध्ररत्या चत्वर मार्गवत् पुष्पाक्षत फलैस्तोक्मैः लाजैर् अर्चिभिर् अर्चितम्.
Archirbhir Architam.
लाज्यैर् अर्चिर्भिर्
सवृन्दैः कदलीस्तम्भैः पूगपोतैः परिष्कृतं तरुपल्लवमालाभिः सर्वतः समलङ्कृतम् सवृन्दैः कदलीस्तम्भैः पूगपोतैः परिष्कृतं तरुपल्लवमालाभिः सर्वतः समलङ्कृतम्
सवृन्दैः कदलीस्तम्भैः पूगपोदैः परिष्कृतं तरुपल्लवमालाभिः सर्वतः समलङ्कृतम्
वृन्दैः कदली स्तम्भैः पूगपोतैः परिष्कृतं तरुपल्लवमालाभिः सर्वतः समलङ्कृतम्
प्रजास्तं दीपबलिभिः सम्भृताशेषमङ्गलैः अभीयुर्मृष्टकन्याश्च मृष्टकुण्डलमण्डिताः प्रजास्तं दीपबलिभिः सम्भृताशेषमङ्गलैः अभीयुर्मृष्टकन्याश्च मृष्टकुण्डलमण्डिताः
प्रजास्तं दीपबलिभिः सम्भृताशेषमङ्गलैः आभीयुर्मृष्टकन्याश्च मृष्टकुण्डलमण्डिताः
Amuchichi, second line, first word, abhiyur. I heard a sound, just abhiyur.
अभीयुर्
Yeah.
Thank you.
प्रजास्तं दीपबलिभिः सम्भृता शेषमङ्गलैः अभियुर्मृष्टकन्याश्च मृष्टकुण्डलमण्डिताः
शङ्खदुन्दुभि घोषेण ब्रह्मघोषेण चर्त्विजां विवेश भवनं वीरः स्तूयमानो गतस्मयः. So like some of the words you can just pick, right? Swarna Toranaihi, like, all the decorations that they had with golden gates, which were actually decorated. Then Dhupaihi with Dhupam, then Chandana Guru Chandanam, so with sandalwood water, which was sprinkled everywhere. Then, Pushpa Akshata Palaihi. So Pushpam, Akshatam, Phalam, all of them were used to welcome him. Then Kadali Stambaihi, different types of flowers were actually kept. And then many of them, then Prajastam, Deepa Balibihi, Deepam, they all were having Deepam lamps to actually welcome him. All the women were standing with lamps. Then Shankha Dhundubi Goshena with kettle drums, Dhundubi is drums, Shankam is conch, with all of that noise, as well as Brahma Goshena Ritwijam, the Ritviks priests who are actually chanting all the Vedic mantras. So with all of them, everybody was just welcoming him in a grand manner. That is pretty much the description here. शङ्खदुन्दुभिघोषेण ब्रह्मघोषेण चर्त्विजां विवेश भवनं वीरः स्तूयमानो गतस्मयः.
शङ्खदुन्दुभिघोषेण ब्रह्मघोषेण चर्त्विजां विवेश भवनं वीरः स्तूयमानो गतस्मयः.
शङ्खदुन्दुभिघोषेण ब्रह्मघोषेण चर्त्विजां विवेश भवनं वीरः स्तूयमानो गतस्मयः.
पूजितः पूजयामास तत्र महायशाः पौराञ्जान पदांस्तांस्तान् प्रीतः प्रियवरप्रदः. But the most important thing he says is, even though they did all of these things, so he doesn't reject it. And this is a very important lesson we're going to see again in this, is whatever is coming, he doesn't reject it, but he just doesn't care about it, right? He's not getting affected by it, saying, oh my God, they're all giving me such a grand welcome. He doesn't feel like, he doesn't get a high out of it. He just accepts it, whatever is coming his way. Pujitah pujayamasa tatra mahayashaha Pauranjana padamstamstan Pritah priyavarapradaha.
पूजितः पूजयामास तत्र महायशाः पौराञ्जानपदांस्तांस्तान् प्रीतः प्रियवरप्रदः.
पूजितः पूजयामास तत्र महायशाः पौराञ्जन
Pauranjana.
Pauranjana. Okay,
Pauranjana.
Okay. Pauranjana padham stan प्रीतः प्रियवरप्रदः
Sa evam आदीन्य नवध्य one word आदीन्य नवध्य चेष्टितः कर्माणि भूयांसि महान् महत्तमः कुर्वन् शशासावनि मण्डलं यशः स्फीतं निधायारुरुहे परं पदम् स एवमादीन्य नवद्य चेष्टितः कर्माणि भूयांसि महान् महत्तमः कुर्वन् शशासावनिमण्डलं यशः स्फीतं निधायारुरुहे परं पदम्
स एवमादिन्यनवद्य चेष्टितः कर्माणि भूयांसि महान् महत्तमः कुर्वन् शशासावनिमण्डलं यशः स्फीतं निधायारुरुहे परं पदम्
आधीन्य नवद्य चेष्टितः कर्माणि भूयांसि महान् महत्तमः कुर्वन् शशासावनि मण्डलं यशः स्फीतं निधाया रुरुरे परं पदम्
रुरुहे निधाया रुरुहे
स्फीतं निधाया रुरुहे परं पदम्
सूतौ वाच तदादि राजस्य यशो विजृम्भितं गुणैरशेषैर्गुणवत् सभाजितं क्षत्ता महाभागवतः सदस्पते कौशारविं प्राह गृणन्तमर्चयन् सूतौ वाच तदादिराजस्य यशो विजृम्भितं गुणैरशेषैर्गुणवत् सभाजितं क्षत्ता महाभागवतः सदस्पते कौशारविं प्राह गृणन्तमर्चयन्
सूत उवाच तदादिराजस्य यशो विजृम्भितं गुणैरशेषैर्गुणवत्सभाजितं क्षत्ता महाभागवतः सदस्पदे कौशारविं प्राह गृणन्तमर्चयन्
उत उवाच तथादिराजस्य यशो वृजृम्भितं गुणैरशेषैर्गुणवत् सभाजितं शक्ता महाभागवतः सदस्पते कौशारविं प्राह गृणन्तमर्चयन्
विदुरौ वाच सोऽभिषिक्तः पृतुर्विप्रैः विसर्गा कॉमा नेक्स्ट ला इर गोes away लब्धाशेष सुरार्हणः बिभ्रत्स वैष्णवं तेजो कॉमा बाह्वोर्याभ्यां दुदोहगाम् विदुरौ वाच सोऽभिषिक्तः पृतुर्विप्रैः लब्धाशेष सुरार्हणः बिभ्रत्स वैष्णवं तेजो बाह्वोर्याभ्यां दुदोहगाम्
सोऽभिषिक्तः पृथुर्विप्रैः लब्धाशेषसुरार्हणः बिभ्रत्स वैष्णवं तेजो बाह्वर्याभ्यां दुदोहगाम्
Did you have the Vidura Vacha? You have that right, yeah, just make sure.
Sorry.
विदुर उवाच शोभिषिक्तः पितृविप्रैः लब्धाशेषसुरार्हणः बिभ्रत्स वैष्णवं तेजो बाह्वोर्याभ्यां दुदोहगम् व्याभ्यां दुदोहगाम्
कोन्वस्य कीर्तिं न शृणोत्यभिज्ञो यत् विक्रमोच्छिष्टं one word यत् विक्रमोच्छिष्टम् अशेष भूपाः ब्रेकिंग धर्म लोका सपाला उपजीवन्ति कामं ब्रेकिंग धर्म अध्यापि तन्मे वद कर्म शुद्धम् कोन्वस्य कीर्तिं न शृणोत्यभिज्ञो यद्विक्रमोच्छिष्टमशेष भूपाः लोका सपाला उपजीवन्ति कामम् अध्यापि तन्मे वद कर्म शुद्धम्
कोन्वस्य कीर्तिं न शृणोत्यभिज्ञो यद्विक्रमोच्छिष्टमशेषभूपाः लोकः सपाला उपजीवन्ति कामम् अद्यापि तन्मे वद कर्मशुद्धम्
मोन्वस्य कीर्तिं न शृणोत्यभिज्ञो विक्रमोच्छिष्टम् अशेषभूपाः लोकः सपाला उपजीवन्ति कामम् अध्यापि तन्मे वद कर्म शुद्धम्.
Switch here. I'm just going to take a few minutes to explain the main. There's not much initially in terms of too much of content. So, like you said, when Prithu comes back, everybody is doing a very grand welcome for him, right? With all the kettles and everything. And then Prithu, he says, then Maitreya wraps up Prithu Charitram to some extent. He says that with this, Prithu, he knows now how to lead. He does all the right things. And then he rules over the entire world in a very glorious way. And then his time comes to an end, and finally he attains liberation, right? Maitreya ends it off in stanza 7. But then, but Vidura is going to ask more questions, and once in a while, again, they come to remind us of the conversation, the broader loop conversation of Sutta Pauranika and Shaunaka Rishi's conversation, right? So he says, Sutta Pauranika is saying, after hearing this from Maitreya, Vidura has more questions, about Prithu. So Vidura says that you talk so much about this greatness of Prithu, but you also said that there are more things which are coming, right? Because Bhagavan said you're going to meet Sanat Kumaras and all of that stuff. So you seem to have skipped all of that stuff. So he says, I want to hear more about Prithu. I want to hear more about this Prithu Charitram. So please tell, all the great work that he continued to do after Bhagavan has given him the instructions, and how did he follow the stuffs and everything. So I want to hear more. So Vidura is asking that, for which Maitreya is now continuing again from 11. He continues the rest of the Prithu Charitra, right? So it's all, if Vidura had not asked, he would have ended the Prithu Charitra. It's a conversational one, right? So he talks about how Prithu is ruling the entire world, but then the region he lived was between the region block between Ganga and Yamuna. So I'm assuming somewhere in Uttar Pradesh region, right? Because it says Ganga, Yamunayor, Nadyo, in the region between the Ganga and Yamuna river. He lived there, but then he was ruling the entire world. Now, again, very similar to Dhruva Charitram, it talks about he had great power, he had excessive wealth, excessive prosperity, and then he was getting all of those things. But very similar to what happened with Dhruva, he realized that all of this that he's getting is only because of his prarabdha karma that he brought into his life, right? Where he had done some karma because of which he's not having any problems, right? He's enjoying all this power, he's enjoying all this luxury and everything which is there. So, but the important thing, like Dhruva did, is he experiences all of those things as something that just has come his way because Bhagavan has blessed him with it, but not get attached to it. So tomorrow, if all of that gets taken away from him, he doesn't care about it, right? So that is extremely important, right? Which is very, very difficult for us, right? That if something gets taken away, then we feel very bad about it, that I really deserved it, it was mine. Why? That means we are not yet ready for it. So if anything goes away, we're like, okay, so be it. Then that's what he's doing. He's saying whatever is there because of that, and then he's just burning away his karma, because like we said, is whatever you are destined to get, you are going to get it, right? And whatever you are not destined to get, you won't get it. So by refusing it, you are actually just accumulating that karma. So he's just burning away all his past karma by just living through it, but not getting attached to it, right? So with that, he then becomes more and more powerful, and then he does another big yajna where he invites everybody, right? And then here it really talks about whole bunch of description about his looks, right? So he talks about, how he had so much stages that when he actually stands there in that yajna, everybody's looking at him as if he was like a full moon. He was just completely radiant. He was tall. He was extremely strong. He had a very fair complexion. Most of the times, Bhagavan's incarnations are dark complexions. So in this case, Prithu's complexion is very fair complexion. Then he had very beautiful eyes. He talked about how he's got a big shoulder, narrow waist, which is a typical description they give for strong men. They talk about all of that stuff. And then, he had a lush head of hair. So it goes on a very detailed description of Prithu, right? How he is. And then finally, when he's getting ready to perform the yajna, he's then changing it into he's wearing a deer skin, he's wearing a darba grass, and all of them. And then he then starts talking to the people. So that is up to 20, where it just gives a description of Prithu's looks, right? and how he's strong and everything. That just goes on to describe that. Okay, we'll do the last switch. Savita, you can be a student, and Vani, you can be a student. Maitreyo Vacha Ganga Yamunayor Nadyoho. So the ra goes away, Visarga comma, Nadyoho. Next word starts with the A. Antara Kshetram Avasan Arabdhaneva Bhubuje, comma, Bhogan Punya Jihasaya. Maitreyo Vacha Gangaya Munayor Nadyoho Antarakshetramavasan Arabdhaneva Bhubuje Bhogan Punya Jihasaya.
मैत्रेय उवाच गङ्गायमुनयोर्नद्योः अन्तराक्षेत्रमावसन् आरब्धानेव बुभुजे भोगान् पुण्यजिहासया
मैत्रेय उवाच गङ्गायमुनयोर्नद्योः अन्तराक्षेत्रमावसन् आरब्धानेव बुबुधे भोगान् पुण्यजिहासया.
Second line, Bhubuje.
आरब्धानेव बुभुजे. Yeah.
Sarvatraskhalita Deshah. One word, cannot break it. Sarvatraskhalita Deshah, comma, Sapta Dvipaika Danda Dhrika. So 7 islands, which means the entire earth. Anyatra Brahmana Kulat. So the that is there, break it. It and a Kulat, comma. Anyatrachuta Gotratah. Sarvatraskhalita Deshah Saptadvipaikadandadhrika Anyatra Brahmana Kulat Anyatrachuta Gotratah.
सर्वत्रास्खलितादेशः सप्तद्वीपैकदण्डधृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणकुलात् अन्यत्राच्युतगोत्रतः
सर्वत्र स्खलितादेशः सप्तद्वीपैकदण्डदृक् अन्यत्र ब्राह्मणकुलात् अन्यत्राच्युतगोत्रतः.
Ekadasin Mahasatra, put a plus, Diksha Tatra Divaukasam Samajo Brahmarshinam cha, comma, Rajarshinam cha Sattama. So all of them came, Brahma Rishis, Raja Rishis, everybody came for that. Ekadasin Mahasatra Diksha Tatra Divaukasam Samajo Brahmarshinam cha Rajarshinam cha Sattama.
एकदासीन् महासत्रदीक्षा तत्र दिवौकसां समाजो ब्रह्मर्षीणां च राजर्षीणां च सत्तम
एकदासीन् महासत्रदीक्षा तत्र दिवौकसां समाजो ब्रह्मर्षीणां च राजर्षीणां च सत्तमा.
Tasminnarhatsu sarveshu, comma, Swarchiteshu yatarhatah Uttitas sadaso madhye, comma, Taranam udhuradiva. I think my books originally had Taranam. In case you have Taranam, it changed to Taranam udhuradiva. Tasminnarhatsu sarveshu Swarchiteshu yatarhatah Uttitas sadaso madhye Taranam udhuradiva.
मिन्नर्हत्सु सर्वेषु स्वर्चितेषु यथार्हतः उत्थितः सदसो मध्ये ताराणाम् उडुराडिव
तस्मिन्नर्हत्सु सर्वेषु स्वर्चितेषु यथार्हतः उत्थितः सदसो मध्ये ताराणाम् उडुराडिव.
So, here it is saying that, when you see all the stars in the sky, stars are all actually bigger than the moon, but the stars look small for us, right? And then the moon is shining big in the middle of it. So it looks like the moon is bigger. That's what he's saying. So among all these Rajarishis and Brahma Rishis who are there, when he stood up, he was like standing out like the moon in between all the night stars. So he was even more powerful and more tejas than everybody else who was there. प्रांशुः पीनायत भुजो कॉमा गौरः कञ्जारुणेक्षणः सुनासस् सुमुखस् सौम्यः कॉमा पीनांस सुद्विजस्मितः. Sunasa means beautiful nose. Sumukha, good face. Just begins to describe his features. प्रांशुः पीनायुतभुजो गौरः कञ्जारुणेक्षणः सुनासः सुमुखः सौम्यः पीनांस सुद्विजस्मितः.
प्रांशुः पीनायत भुजो गौरः कञ्जारुणेक्षणः सुनासः सुमुखः सौम्यः पीनांसः सुद्विजस्मितः.
प्रांशुः पीनायत भुजो गौरः कञ्जारुणेक्षणः सुनासः सुमुखः सौम्यः पीनांसः सुद्विजस्मितः.
व्यूढ वक्षा बृहत् श्रोणिः विसर्गा कॉमा. Next word ir goes away. Vali valgu dalodharah avartanabhir ojasvi. Just breaking at that ra. Avartanabhir ojasvi comma kanchano rurudagrapat. Vyudhavaksha brihatshronih vali valgu dalodharah avartanabhir ojasvi kanchano rurudagrapat.
व्यूढवक्षा बृहच्छ्रोणिः वलिवल्गुदलोदरः आवर्तनाभिरो ओजस्वी काञ्चनोरुरुदग्रपात्.
व्यूढवक्षा बृहच्छ्रोणिः वलिवल्गुदलोदरः आवर्तनाभिरोजस्वी काञ्चनोरुरुदग्रपात्.
सूक्ष्म वक्रासित स्निग्ध पुट प्लस मूर्धजः कंबु कंधरः महाधने दुकूलाग्रे कॉमा परिधायोपवीयच. सूक्ष्म वक्रासित स्निग्ध मूर्धजः कंबु कंधरः महाधने दुकूलाग्रे परिधायोपवीयच.
सूक्ष्मवक्रासितस्निग्धमूर्धजः कम्बुकन्धरः महाधने दुकूलाग्रे परिधायोपवीय च.
सूक्ष्मवक्रासितस्निग्धमूर्धजः कम्बुकन्धरः महाधने दुकूलाग्रे परिधायोपवीय च.
व्यञ्जिताशेष गात्र श्रीः विसर्ग कॉमा. नेक्स्ट वर्ड ir goes away. नियमे न्यस्त भूषणः कृष्णाजिन धरः श्रीमान् कॉमा कुश पाणिः कृतोचितः. So Krishna ajina is deer skin. Krishna is black, so he wore like a cloth, a deer skin cloth on his bottom now because he's going to do the yajna, and then kusha, grass on his hands. व्यञ्जिताशेषगात्रश्रीः नियमे न्यस्तभूषणः कृष्णाजिनधरः श्रीमान् कुशपाणिः कृतोचितः.
व्यञ्जिताशेषगात्रश्रीः नियमे न्यस्तभूषणः कृष्णाजिनधरः श्रीमान् कुशपाणिः कृतोचितः.
व्यञ्जिताशेषगात्रश्रीः नियमे न्यस्तभूषणः कृष्णाजिनधरः श्रीमान् कुशपाणिः कृतोचितः.
शिशिर स्निग्ध ताराक्षः कॉमा समैक्षत समन्ततः ऊचिवान् इदम् उर्वीशः कॉमा सदसंहर्षयन्निव. शिशिरस्निग्धताराक्षः समैक्षतसमन्ततः ऊचिवान् इदम् उर्वीशः सदसंहर्षयन्निव.
शिशिरस्निग्धताराक्षः समैक्षत समन्ततः ऊचिवान् इदमुर्वीशः सदः संहर्षयन्निव
शिशिरस्निग्धताराक्षः समैक्षत समन्ततः ऊचिवान्निदमूर्वीशः निदसः संहर्षयन्निव
I have Sadasamharshayanniva.
that's correct. Sadas samharshayaniv
Charu Chitrapadam Shlakshnam, comma, Mrishtam Gudham Aviklavam, Sarvesham Upakarartham, comma, Tada Anuvadanniva. Charu Chitrapadam Shlakshnam, Mrishtam Gudham Aviklavam, Sarvesham Upakarartham, Tada Anuvadanniva.
चारुचित्रपदं श्लक्ष्णं मृष्टं गूढम् अविक्लवं सर्वेषाम् उपकारार्थं तदा अनुवदन्निव
चारुचित्रपदं श्लक्ष्णं मृष्टं गूढमविक्लभं सर्वेषामुपकारार्थं तदा अनुवदन्निव
Rajovacha Sabhyas Shrunuta Bhadram Vaha, Sadavo Ya Ihagataha Satsu Jignasubhir Dharmam, breaking at that mark, Avedhyam Swamanishhitam. Rajovacha Sabhyas Shrunuta Bhadram Vaha Sadavo Ya Ihagataha Satsu Jignasubhir Dharmam Avedhyam Swamanishhitam.
राजोवाच सभ्या शृणुत भद्रं वः साधवो य इहागताः सत्सु जिज्ञासुभिर्धर्मम् आवेद्यं स्वमनीषितम्
राजोवाच सभ्या शृणुत भद्रं वः साधवो य इहागताः सत्सु जिज्ञासुभिर्धर्मम् आवेद्यं स्वमनीषितम्
Aham Dandadharo Raja, Prajanamiha Yojitaha Rakshita Vrittida Sweshu, Setishu Stapita Pritake. Aham Dandadharo Raja Prajanamiha Yojitaha Rakshita Vrittida Sweshu Setishu Stapita Pritake. Setushu Stapita Pritake.
अहं दण्डधरो राजा प्रजानामिह योजितः रक्षिता वृत्तिदस्वेषु सेतुषु स्थापिता पृथक्
अहं दण्डधरो राजा प्रजानामिह योजितः रक्षिता वृत्तिधस्वेषु सेतुषु स्थापिता पृथक्
Tasya me Tat Anushtanat. So the Dhya you have there, we're just going to break it it and a ya. Tat Anushtanat, Yanahur Brahma Vadinaha Lokas Syuh Kama Sandohaha. Add a visarga there, Sandohaha. Yasya Tushyati Dishta Drika. Tasya me tad Anushtanat Yanahur Brahma Vadinaha Lokasyuh Kama Sandohaha Yasya Tushyati Dishtadrik.
तस्य मे तदनुष्ठानात् ज्ञानाहुर्ब्रह्मवादिनः लोकास्युः कामसन्दोहाः यस्य तुष्यति दिष्टदृक्
तस्य मे तदनुष्ठानात् यानाहुर्ब्रह्मवादिनः लोकास्युः कामसन्दोहाः यस्य तुष्यति दिष्टदृक्
Yeah, Uddharet Karam Raja, Praja Dharmeshwa Sikshayan, Prajanam Shamalam Bhunkte, Bhagam Cha Swam Jahati Saha. Yeah, Uddharet Karam Raja, Praja Dharmeshwa Sikshayan, Prajanam Shamalam Bhunkte, Bhagam Cha Swam Jahati Saha.
य उद्धरेत् करं राजा प्रजाधर्मेष्वशिक्षयन् प्रजानां शमलं भुङ्क्ते भगं च स्वं जहाति सः
य उद्धरेत्करं राजा शिक्षयन् प्रजानां शमलं भुङ्क्ते भगं च स्वं जहाति सः
तत्प्रजा भर्तृपिण्डार्थं स्वार्थम् एवानसूयवः कुरुताधोक्षज धियः विसर्ग is goes away तर्हि मेनुग्रहः कृतः तत्प्रजा भर्तृपिण्डार्थं स्वार्थम् एवानसूयवः कुरुताधोक्षज धियः तर्हि मेनुग्रहः कृतः
तत्प्रजा भर्तृपिण्डार्थं स्वार्थमेवानसूयवः कुरुताधोक्षज धियः तर्हि मेनुग्रहः कृतः
तत्प्रजा भर्तृपिण्डार्थं स्वार्थमेवानसूयवः कुरुताधोक्षज धीयः तर्हि मेऽनुग्रहः कृतः
Do one more and stop. यूयं तद् अनुमोदध्वं पितृदेवर्षयो मलाः कर्तुः शास्तुर् अनुज्ञातुः which is breaking at the tra शास्तुर् अनुज्ञातुः is goes away विसर्ग तुल्यं यत् प्रेत्य तत् फलम् यूयं तदनुमोदध्वं पितृदेवर्षयो मलाः कर्तुः शास्तुरनुज्ञातुः तुल्यं यत् प्रेत्य तत् फलम्
यूयं तद् अनुमोदध्वं पितृदेवर्षयो मलाः कर्तुः शास्तुर् अनुज्ञातुः तुल्यं यत् प्रेत्य तत्फलम्
यूयं तदनुमोदध्वं पितृदेवर्षयो मलाः कर्तुः शास्तुरनुज्ञातुः तुल्यं यत् प्रेत्य तत्फलम्
Today. Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Gopika Jeevana Smaranam, Govinda, Govinda, Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai, Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Swabhavat, Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana Yeti Samarpayami. Thank you everyone. Have a wonderful
Thank you,
rest of
Rajesh.
Mother's
Thank you,
Day.
Rajesh.
Thank
A
you,
wonderful
Rajesh.
week.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rajesh.
Thank
Bye
you.
everyone. Bye.